Marhaban. Hello, my name is Ian Campbell, and this is the sixth in a series of videos intended to teach you the Arabic alphabet and sound system and to prepare you to understand how to learn vocabulary words. In this lesson, we're going to learn two more letters of the alphabet, Ra and Zay, and a non-alphabetic character called Hamza. So let's just jump right in here and take a look at Ra. Ra is the 10th letter of the alphabet. Like alif, waw, dal, and thal, it is a non-connecting letter, which means it does not connect to the next letter. And while it's rendered into English as R, it is not at all the English R sound. And I'll get to this in just a second, but let's show how to make it first, which is we're going to start on the line, and we're going to dangle down like this. This is a Ra. So Ra is an obtuse angle. It's greater than 90 degrees, and it dangles down from the line, whereas Dal is an acute angle, less than 90 degrees, and it sits on the line. So it's a very common mistake for students to want to make them roughly the same size like this, or maybe make Ra dangle down from the line like this, and we don't want to do any of those things. We want to clearly differentiate between Ra and Zay. Zay is just Ra with a dot, and Dal and Thal, and they look quite different even though they're all non-connecting letters. So this is not the English R sound. It's very misleading to transliterate it as R, because English R comes from the kind of middle back of your throat. But this is not that sound at all. This is the Spanish trilled R, ra, 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 like that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put the tip of your tongue on the fleshy ridge behind your upper front teeth, and you're going to relax it a tiny bit as you blow air through it, like that. So many people say they can't learn to trill their R's, but they absolutely can, because the reason they think they can't is because they're trying to make the English R sound while they're doing it. So R comes from your throat, and ra, ra, ra comes from the very front of your mouth. So please be careful about that. It's not at all the same sound, and if you make English R, you're often going to confuse native speakers of Arabic. You'll sound like somebody with a very stereotypical accent, like that. So this is the letter Ra, and it dangles from the line, and so because it is a non-connecting letter, it cannot be the first or the middle in a series of connected letters. Rather, it dangles down from the line at an obtuse angle like this, and if we're coming up from a previous letter, we might want to make almost a little token tooth there and do that. Because it has a tooth in print, many people in handwriting will make a big old tooth and go down like this, and we don't want to do that. We want to dangle it directly from the line like this when we make Ra at the end of a series of letters. So that is Ra, and our next letter is Zay, which is one of the easiest ones. It's just Ra with a dot, and it is the English letter Z. And so one of the easiest letters to learn and pronounce. It should present no problem for you. All you have to do is make a Ra with a dot, and whereas Ra takes a little time to learn to pronounce correctly unless you speak a lot of Spanish, Zay is just English Z, so super easy to learn. And then the last thing we're going to look at is Hamza. Hamza is a non-alphabetic character. It can be part of a word's root letters, but it's not technically a letter of the alphabet, and it makes what we call the glottal stop sound. That is, uh-oh, uh-oh. You're cutting off the flow of air for just an instant. Your glottis is another word for your throat, and you're making the epiglottis cut off air from your lungs as you do this. So in English, we only make this sound at the beginning of words, typically, like apple, right? We stop talking. I would like an apple for lunch. That's what we're doing there. Uh-oh is one of the only places where we do it in the middle of a word. Arabic loves to put Hamza just about darn near anywhere in a word. And because it's a non-alphabetic character, it's spelled a little funny. One way we're going to make it is by putting a kind of backwards number 2 on the line, like this. This is a common thing to do at the end of a word. You will often see words ending with alif and then Hamza sitting there like this. And what this means is that the word will end with the ah sound, and then you'll make a tiny little stop before you go on to the next word. I'll show you an example of this in a moment. More often, we will see Hamza on top of an alif. And if you remember the first lesson, I said alif often acts as a chair, a kursi, for other letters. Well, Hamza is the usual letter that does this, though technically it is not a letter of the alphabet. So when we begin a word with the sound or the sound, we're going to put Hamza on top of the alif at the beginning of the word. I'll show examples of this later as well. Sometimes when a word begins with the kesra sound, the it sound, we will put Hamza underneath the alif at the end of the word. So this, when you see this, it's a dead giveaway that the word begins with I, and I'll show you examples of this. Somewhat more rarely, we will see Hamza sitting atop of a letter waw. And here the waw doesn't really count as the letter waw. It counts as the chair for the Hamza. And I'll give an example of this later on, and then towards the end of this series of videos, I'll show you the rules for how to spell Hamza, which are like the rules for how to use the apostrophe in English. They're not hard at all, but nobody ever looks them up or knows them. Lastly, sometimes we will see the Hamza kind of on the tail end of a dotless letter ya, and sometimes this will happen in the middle of a word, and it will just be the tooth for the letter ya, and the Hamza atop it. And all of this will get explained as we go. None of it is rocket science. I mean, it's bewildering. There's literally like 6 different versions of it here, but it's super not a problem. You'll learn to make the uh-oh sound in the beginning of, or in the middle of a word, rather. Like if you were pretending to be a Cockney like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins and you want to drink a bottle of water, that's kind of the thing you'll be doing in the middle of a word. But it sounds better in Arabic, and my Dick Van Dyke impression is terrible, so I won't go any further with it. So let's look at a whole bunch of examples of how words form with the letters ra and ze, and also with the Hamza. So we'll start here. Khabara, khabara. Now don't say it like an English R. Khabara, khabara, with the R in the back of the middle of your throat. Say it with the R trilled at the front of your mouth instead. Khabara, khabara. And here we have alif bi hamza, it's called alif with hamza, at the beginning of the word. And so we're going to say akhbar, akhbar. So khabar is a piece of news. Akhbar is its plural, the news, like you might watch on TV or the internet. Akhbar. This is a very common plural noun pattern. Alif bi hamza, letter number 1 with sukun, letter number 2, alif, letter number 3. So the 3 root letters here, kha, ba, ra, give us informing someone. So khabar is a piece of information. Akhbar is pieces of information. Ikhbar, here's the hamza below, so that makes the I sound. Ikhbar is the act of informing someone. Khabir is someone who is informed and therefore an expert. So khabir, so make sure to trill your R at the end of the word here. Khubara is its plural. So khabir is expert, khubara is experts. In English, it's so easy. We just stick S on the end of the word to make it plural. In Arabic, we have to rearrange the word, but we will keep the same 3 root letters in that order, kha, ba, and ra here. So khubara is experts, and by itself, it just sounds like it ends with an alif, but if we put another word after it, we will stop speaking there just for an instant. And that's where this comes into play. Alif bi hamza, alif and then hamza rather, is a very common way to end a word. Take a look at this word, kharab. Kharab. Kharab is a ruin, like a ruined building. Kharaib is its plural. And here is Hamza sitting on a dotless letter ya. This is actually one of his favorite chairs. Kharaib. I'm going to stop talking there for just a second. Kharaib. Kharaib. Just put the uh-oh sound in the middle of the word. You could do it. It's no big deal. You'll learn to do it. Arabic loves to do this. Come on over here. We've got the letters ch and then ra and then jim in a row. And everything having to do with ch, ra, jim means exiting or going out of something. So kharaja is the root verb, to leave, to go out. It really means he left or he went out. Akhraja is a derived verb. So we start with the sound, which means we're going to put alif bihamza at the beginning of the word. Akhraja means to expel someone, to make them leave. It also means to direct a film. Ukhrij is I expel someone. So I might do this to a particularly disruptive student, though in fact I've only done it once in 25 years of teaching. Khuruj. Khuruj is the act of going out or leaving. Takhruj. Takhruj means she leaves something. So all of these words have in common, because they have kha, ra, jim in a row, they all have the act of leaving or going out in common. So one of the key skills you're going to learn as a novice Arabic learner is to recognize these roots and start picking up on the most common ones. And then when you encounter a new word, you might not know precisely what it means, but you know it has, for example, something to do with leaving, and then you can usually piece it together from the rest of the sentence, inshallah. Here we have ruh, and why did I put a dot there? Good Lord, no dot on this word, pardon me. Ruh. Ruh means spirit. It's grammatically feminine, even though it doesn't have ta marbuta on it. So ruh. Notice how we have to say at the end of a word. Americans hate doing this. Ruh. Ruh. Or hate learning to do it at any rate. You can learn to do it, but it takes a little practice. Ruh means spirit. Arwah means spirits. It's the plural, just like akhbar is the plural of khabar. Arwah is the plural of ruh. So learn to make ha at the end of a word. Here's alif be hamza in the middle of a word. Ra'i. Ra'i. Ra'i means opinion. It's from the root for to see, which is ra hamza, because hamza gets to be a root letter. Alif does not. And then ya. Here is ru'ya. And here's the hamza sitting atop the letter waw. Again, I'll give you all these rules later on. Don't worry about them for now. Ru'ya. Ru'ya means vision. So your opinion is something that you see and you have vision. So ru'ya. Say that with the glottal stop sound in the middle of the word. Ru'ya. Ru'ya. All right. Here's zubda. So here's your zay with the dot on top. So zubda. Zubda means butter, like butter on bread. And zubdati, now I've changed ta marbuta to regular ta, and I've made it my butter. Don't touch my butter. Zujaj. So just like dajaj is chicken, now we've got zujaj here. Zujaj is glass. If I change this jim to the first line jim and put a ta marbuta after it, zujaja is a bottle, because a bottle is usually made of glass. Zawj. So here's zay, wow, not zuj like it looks, but zawj, because when we have sukun on top of wow, it turns u into aw. So zawj, a zawj is a pear, P-A-I-R, not the fruit. And therefore it means husband, because you're one of a pair, zawj. So zawja, you can probably guess, I put the feminine marker at the end of zawj and change jim and make it this version of jim. And now I've got zawja, and zawja means wife. So my wife could call me zawji, my husband, and I would call her zawjati. I'd take ta marbuta, untie it into regular ta, and now zawjati, my wife. Be careful not to say English T here, zawjati. Don't do that, say zawjati. It takes a little practice. And then we have, at the bottom here, we have a very easy word, eb. Eb. And eb means father. So ebi is my father. Very easy. Ach means brother. So achi is my brother. Ukht means sister. Notice here I have dhamma atop the hamza. In probably 95% of words where alif bi hamza is the first letter in the word, it's going to begin with fatha, not dhamma. So a lot of times when we learn a new word that does begin with dhamma, like ukht for sister, then we'll put the dhamma there just to make it clear that this is how you pronounce it. So akh is brother, ukht is sister. She gets a whole ta instead of a ta marbuta. That's just a historical thing. There's no good reason why. So ukhti, again, ta becomes a middle letter here. Ukhti is my sister. Ikhwa is the plural of akh, believe it or not. The root for akh is really hamza, kha, and waw. It just happens to be invisible here. Don't worry about that. So ikhwa is brothers or siblings. And akhawat is sisters. So now you know the names for a lot of your family members. I can't give you mother yet because I don't have the right letter for it. And I can't give you daughter or son for the same reason. But I will, and you'll get to see those. But that's enough words for now, and I will say ma salama. Goodbye.